All right, my name is Maddie Suarez. I'm a licensed spiritual practitioner here at the center. Good morning to everyone in the room. Good morning to those online. Joy Lynn asked me if I could do a sacred reading today. She asked me last Sunday, and I was like, sure. And then I had a really busy week. It was a little ridiculous. So Friday night, I decided I could grab a little bit of time and come up with something. And the only sentence I had to go on was something that was sent to me: revealing your divine nature is your great gift to life itself. And so I thought, oh, okay, so I'm searching on the internet, trying to find some spiritual amazingness out there. And a little voice in my head said, you have something to write. Write something from your heart. Okay. So I wrote something, and I did it in about 15 minutes. It hasn't really been edited, and I feel like it was inspired. So here we go. Growing up in California, I don't remember ever seeing morning glories. Those beautiful purple, pink, lavender blooms, so many shades of gloriousness. Morning glories, like the name, only open in the morning. As soon as it warms up or the sun shines on them, they droop and die, losing their beauty. When I bought my house 11 years ago, the house next to mine was always a rental. Different people would move in every year or two and change the landscape of the front yard. The one constant was the morning glories. They appeared every year without fail, with their long trellises of green foliage and their beautiful, colorful greeting to the day. I wondered, how did they show up no matter who lived there? And I decided to investigate. I bought some seeds at Lowe's for $1.99 a packet. I read the directions on planting them. I created a flower bed in my mainly dirt backyard, which had 2 huge trees. And it kept it shady most of the day. I soaked the seeds overnight in water, and in the morning I planted them along with my chain link fence that bordered my other neighbor's house. Time went by and the flowers started coming. They grew up the fence, intertwining through the metal, filling the fence with dark purple flowers every morning. The next year I bought more seeds with different color blooms and set out to plant them again. The following year, I didn't put out any seeds. I noticed that the vines had created their own seed pods, which burst open at some point in the season and created their own babies, much more than what could be housed in my flower bed. I created another flower bed and another and put them all around. I put them in pots to climb up my outdoor patio flanked by wrought iron. I was obsessed. I didn't have to buy anything. I didn't have to work hard to make them grow. They were free, a gift from the universe, a gift of life. This year, a few people asked me for some morning glory plants. I dug some up, put them in pots, and sent them on their way. Now the people I gave them to will get to experience the glory of the morning glories as well, a gift of divine nature, of our true nature, of life itself. Namaste.
I love this story so much because we are in this series of living a life of divine rest and play, right? And I'm going to remind you what this commitment is that comes from our book, The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. It says, I commit to creating a life of play, improvisation, and laughter. I commit to seeing all life unfold easily and effortlessly. I commit to maximizing my energy by honoring rest, renewal, and rhythm. And when Maddie shared this story with me, I thought, perfect. That's a perfect display of easeful unfolding. Effortless unfolding. You put the seeds in, they just continue to do their thing. They effortlessly and easily show up in the world in their own nature. And that just continues to expand and go on and on and on and on, and it just is an unfolding not just of the blossom of the morning glory itself, but of the nature of the morning glory plant. the nature of humans to give and generously share. And what an easy way she's done this over years. The neighbors' morning glories inspired her, which inspired her to put those plants in the ground, and then got to see this abundance of life and beauty that she then gave to the next person. What a beautiful, beautiful example. Thank you, Maddie. So I want to share with you the definition of unfold, because that is what I think the blossoming, and if you had your eyes open during the beautiful, gorgeous meditation, thank you, JP and Reverend Rebecca. So the videos were of flowers time-lapsed in their blossoming process. Here's the definition of unfold: to open or spread out from a folded position, to reveal or disclose, to open to the view, to expand, to blossom. Blossoming is this beautiful, effortless, it appears, process. And when I was thinking about what does it mean to unfold, especially what does it mean to unfold easefully and gracefully, effortlessly? And I immediately thought of blossoming, right? I immediately thought, like, flowers do this all the time. Flowers do this all the time. And then I got geeked out about the blossoming of flowers, and so I had to look up the science of blossoming. Like, how is it that that happens, actually? And what I learned a bunch of things. There's proteins involved, there's all kinds of things involved. But the coolest part that I learned was that what actually triggers a bud to begin opening is stress. Stress. Strain. That there is a different level of pressure, of literal pressure and strain, on the outer edge of the bud versus the inner core of the bud. And that very mismatch of pressure and strain causes stress, and the blossom opens as a result. Right? Are you with me on this? Which really got me thinking about our relationship with outer pressure, with conditions in our lives, in the world, and the way we respond to those. Because often, I think when stress feels like it is coming at us, right, from some outer set of circumstances, from someone behaving badly, from life doing something that we would rather it didn't, and the way we respond to that as if something has gone wrong, right? Anybody have something going on in your life right now where you're like, this is not cool, it is wrong? Anybody think there's something happening in the world globally where it's like, not cool, something is going wrong? And yet, there is a natural, nature-based, supposed to happen circumstance built into flowers. That they make use of the outer pressure, the stuff happening on the edge of itself, so that it can be more fully what it is. So that it can expand, so that it can unfold into its greater becoming. And without that strain, not going to happen. Right? So what if our approach to stress, what if our approach to what feels like misalignment from what is happening in here to what is happening out here was a way for us to expand into our greater nature? And if that was our conscious approach to the stress, to the strain. When I was waking up this morning, and there's a lot of strainy things happening in my life that feel like they are out of my control, and I would rather they not be happening. And I woke up this morning and I thought, I am blossoming. Yay for blossoming. Because this is, as spiritual beings, especially as spiritual beings who have found ourselves drawn to a metaphysic spirituality, what we know in that teaching is that we are at choice. We hear it all the time in new thought traditions and communities, that we get to be at choice, and we always get to make new choice in every moment. And so the choice isn't, I'm going to go change all these outer circumstances that I think have gone wrong. The choice is to accept that stress, to accept that strain as an invitation to growing and expanding. I've had this other experience, and some of you have had an opportunity to participate in it. We had a guest artist here on Friday. Raise your hand if I'm wrong. It was Friday, this past Friday. Okay, thank you. Thank you for those of you here. With Hellenius J. Wilkins and his duet partner, Ryder. And it was a partnership with Cachette, Center for Dance and Arts. And his whole piece and his whole process is about what he calls rebodying belonging and stitching the country back together again. And the way that he does this, and he's a dancer and also a social justice, he calls himself an artivist, an artist/activist, is he's traveling to every part of this country to bring community together through conscious conversation and movement. And he gifted us with his process last Friday. But what I love about his approach is that he is not coming into a community with an already figured out program, with an already figured out performance that he's going to put in front of us. He comes to each state, each land, to be in community and let a program and process and performance unfold based on a co-creative process. And so I was so moved by how he was approaching, because what happened was he came to Albuquerque, and one of the ways that he does what he does is he brings a process to community, not in a theater, not on a stage, but he looks for community organizations who are in alignment to some degree about wanting to be in process, and goes into their community. So he came into our space, and we had this opportunity to create a moment together, and it was beautiful. And it unfolded with such ease and grace. And you know the only thing that it required? Our presence. Our willingness to be in the space, open-hearted, curious, dealing with what I don't know is about to unfold. Oh, you want me to dance in front of 30 people? Okay. And just saying yes to that. And seeing what unfolded as a result. And what unfolded was some beautiful connections. The budding and now blossoming of relationship, which for me was this perfect outcome of what he had intended, which is a stitching together, right? It brought us together, and we just effortlessly and easefully, and I believe gracefully, created something together by simply being in space with intention and willingness. It doesn't sound hard, does it? Any of you who happened to be with us on Friday, was it hard? No. Was it a little bit uncomfortable? Yes. Maybe awkward? Yes. Did you know what you were doing? No. Does that sound like life? Yes. This is the invitation of our nature. This is the invitation of spirit every moment. That invitation is given in every breath. this allowing, this willingness to let my divine nature come into contact with life itself. And because we've made that connection, because I've said yes to my aliveness, because I've said yes to learning and discovering and allowing my divine nature to meet life, not to resist life, not to say, life, you suck right now and I want you to do it different. But to say, okay, what I know about Spirit, what I know about God, what I know about Allah, what I know about the Goddess and the Holy Blessed One and the Creator is that it is good and that it is ever moving for good. So whatever I'm running into, whatever I am confronting or having contact with in life itself, has to then be for my good, is full and ripe with invitation to my blossoming, even when I don't like it. But that's a choice. It's a choice to move in the world that way. It's a choice to just say, you know what? I'm going to show up authentically, vulnerably, and allow. I'm not only going to allow life to be what it is, because good luck thinking you have any control over that anyways. I mean, what an illusion, right? The Hindus call it Maya. Like, come on now. But there is this incredible, powerful choice we have to bring ourselves to it. We have all the control over that. We have all the control over saying to ourselves that my authentic nature, that my way of being in this body, in this moment in time, with my skills and my talents and my understandings, is the most powerful gift I have to give to this life. It is also the way I have to having the life of my dreams. All the things that feel like they are going wrong in your life are met, are solved, are grown, are expanded, are transmuted and transformed, not because you're pouting, not because you're shaking your fist at life and the world and the humans, but because you are willing to bring all that you are to that circumstance. You are willing to dance with the conditions. You are willing to say, okay, I am going to vulnerably bring all that I am to this moment, to this conversation, to this set of circumstances. That is how it transforms. There is this beautiful design, this perfect design. And when we choose to participate in it and allow ourselves to interact with a design that is perfect, no matter how it appears, then that blossoming becomes possible. But when we resist the design, when we resist the circumstances right around us, then we block the way of the blossoming. We stay folded up and twisted, right? We get into that resistance like, I refuse to be with this isness. What happens here? What's possible from here? Anything? Muscle cramps, strain, spasms, absolute limited mobility. Not a lot I can do from here. But there's a spirit of allowing when you consciously choose to be in a walk with the Holy Blessed One. There's a spirit of co-creation with isness. And I think we think that manifesting is this solo thing where if I just stay firm in my vision for how I want it to be, then it will come to be. If I just pray right, if I sit on my lotus cushion, right, and pray right. I was talking with one of our friends from Manara, and we were talking about, you got to hit your prayers 5 times a day, and it's a timed thing, and it's a certain kind of prayer. But what often happens, my friend was sharing with me, is it turns into like, oh snap, it's okay, pray, do the thing. Which is kind of counterintuitive to the purpose of the prayer. This allowing piece requires an openness and a softness. And when we move into conscious co-creation, willing and open, this softness, this fluidity, this messiness is our greatest power. It is the greatest force for good to create the life that we dream of. It is not hard, it is not resistant. It's actually just a relaxing, a resting in what is so. And what is beautiful about this approach to spiritual life, to spiritual living, is this resting into what is so. Not only do we get to rest, we get to play with what we discover in that allowing. We get to rest and soften into joy and delight. We get to say, oh my goodness, there is a misalignment. There's a misalignment between this circumstance and my inner being. I keep thinking about Harriet Tubman in this regard. And I keep thinking about how the misalignment of chattel slavery with what she knew herself to be as free. Right? Does anybody else see the misalignment there? Right. Right? And when we think about, okay, chattel slavery, humans being sold and chained and shipped and all the things, and yet she had no doubt. She knew who she was. She knew the truth of her nature. She knew that she was made in the image and likeness of the One, which meant she was inherently free. She knew that. She knew who she was, which comes in direct conflict with chattel slavery. And that misalignment, that stress, that strain allowed her to blossom into somebody who was a stand for freedom, her own and anybody else who wanted to go. And I don't imagine it was easy, yet there was ease. There was ease that came from her willingness to know the truth of who she was, to be in that conflict, to feel all the ways that created misalignment and stress. And that very thing blossomed her into her divine purpose. And gave her all the power and strength and capacity and resources to do so. The entire universe conspired with her yes. So regardless of how much the strain is, of how profound the stress may be on those outer edges, there's a design in place. There's a design in place that says when that meets inner truth, this is what gets to happen. And we are entirely supported by the universe itself, by science, by the energetic law that has been designed for us to blossom. Not in spite of circumstance, with circumstance. That's pretty flippin' exciting when you think about it, right? So I want you to take a moment right now, and I want you to think about that pressure that you're feeling in your life right now, whatever yours is. Good thing it's not chattel slavery, no fun at all. But whatever is feeling completely out of alignment with your truth, with what you know about God, with what you know about your absolutely divine nature, whatever is hitting that, how could you allow that to be in a dance with your nature to blossom you into more of who you are? Sit with that question for just the next few seconds. Does it feel a little bit easier? When you approach it from this direction, does it feel less overwhelming, maybe a bit? Can you feel the glimpse of possibility starting to bubble up? Can you begin to rest in faith that this blossoming is entirely supported by the entire universe? And allow the power of that truth to carry you into the blossoming itself. You don't have to will it forward. You don't have to make it happen. That there is a design in the universe that is like, I got you. Just be willing to show up as the absolute perfection that you are. Bring that to the dance. Everything else is taken care of. I wanted to share from this wonderful book that I've been teaching from also for a while is Stephen Nakmanovic, Free Play. And it's sort of a book on approaching life as improvisational art. But he shares all of these great artists of our time, that one of them, one of Bach's students asked him, how do you ever think of so many tunes? And he replied, my dear boy, my greatest difficulty is to avoid stepping on them when I get up in the morning. Doesn't that sound like just like allowing on steroids? He's not willing any song forward. He's allowing them to reveal themselves to him. To the point where he's like, ooh, another song, oh, song. And all he has to do is show up for it. All he has to do is be the perfectly, beautifully talented musician that he is and allow himself to be open to the songs that are everywhere. And let those very gifts of the divine grow him into the greatest musician of his time. Yes? Easeful, effortless. So I want to talk about, in this culture of busy, in this culture of productivity and achievement, how is it that we begin to shift our way of being into a softening and an allowing? How do we begin to welcome the divine design, more into our lived experience? Because I do believe it's ultimately what we all long for, right? I think that longing for God is longing for ease, is longing for grace, is longing for peace, joy, harmony, which are all the qualities and characteristics of the divine. But we have to be willing to step out of what we think we know about how to live our best lives. And part of that power is in our vulnerability, is in our willingness to show up authentically to what is, rather than, I'm going to be the one who changes what is. What if we began to dance with the blossoming of our own consciousness as the way towards change? These are the muscles I think we are being called to cultivate and get stronger in ourselves, are these much softer ways of being, these much messier and fluid ways of being. And Jack Kornfield, who's a meditation teacher and from the Buddhist tradition, shared recently about a retreat he went on, and he talked about how beneficial retreat is in this society, in this current set of circumstances we find ourselves in. And it's, again, retreat and resistance are not the same thing. Right? Retreating from the constant hitting and batting our heads against the same walls. We retreat from that. But he says, even a short period of retreat is a benevolent rest, a stepping outside of busy daily routines and our ordinary identity. Released from the tyranny of time, we are invited into the reality of the present, to see the mystery of life anew. This is the how-to. This is how to be in the way of blossoming. Is retreating from what we think we know about our identity, or what we think we know about the person everybody is telling us we're supposed to be, right? I think about this a lot for men. I think this is a really uncomfortable time for men in a unique way. Men who are, I would say, masculine people, and men who were raised as masculine and men. That, like, this fluidity and this softness is not what's been encouraged in the masculine, right? It's been all about, like, the hardness and the change and the willpower, right? Man up! And I think for men especially, this idea of softening and allowing may be particularly uncomfortable. But do it anyways. Consider that there's greater power in the softening and the allowing, in the willingness to rest from an identity that you were handed that is actually out of alignment with your inner truth, your actual nature. And from this place of resting from the busy, resting from the producing, resting from the achieving, resting from the identities we've been handed, that we inherited, when we rest from that, this is when the mystery of the one can reveal itself to us. The mystery of the greater and the mystery of the inner. That we get to discover these jewels, these treasures that is the very nature of our actual selves, and get into that mystery. Like, wow, when I allow this aspect of my identity, which is not honored in these cultural norms that are full of isness that we don't love, but when I allow my nature to be out of alignment with that cultural norm, right? And recognize that, oh wait, that misalignment is actually inviting me to go in and blossom more into my actual nature. That what it isn't and what it is actually can give you more power to be with what is actually true. And it is mysterious. As you do this work, you may find yourself turning within and going, "Oh, wow, I did not know that about myself. Wow, I did not know I could delight in leaves and trees and, river banks. I didn't know I could delight in whatever you may end up delighting in." But that's part of the mystery we walk into. That's part of the unknown that we can begin to get really comfortable in. And Jack Kornfield goes on to say, this is how, in these modern times, we can move more deeply into our true nature, into resting into an identity that is true and not inherited. He says, find ways to take regular retreats. Long ones, short ones, daily mini ones. Take 5 minutes to do nothing. Walk under trees outside at work on your break. Sit silently on the grass or the balcony or the porch or on your meditation cushion. Breathe with compassion for your busy self, and then put down all your plans. Open yourself to wonder. Wonder about the isness, and wonder about what is in here. Let your heart be fed and your spirit renewed. This is the way of the blossom. There's this perfect design that is nature. We are nature. That design that is true for the flower is true for you and I. And may you be blessed by it. Thank you.